Yes, you guys, welcome back. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV, and today I'm here to bring you guys another News Daily video. Now, with this News Daily video in particular, it's going to be focused on and centered on the latest London is Blue podcast, which recently featured a certain Mr. Matt Law. Now, in this podcast episode, Matt Law spilled the tea. We learned the latest news surrounding the club's efforts to sign Erling Haaland in the summer, as well as the potential futures of players like Loftus-Cheek, Kurt ZOUMA Kante, and Mark Gay as well. So this is definitely a very interesting News Daily video. Of course, shout out to the London is Blue podcast. There is going to be the link to the full podcast episode in the description below, you guys. So make sure you give it a listen yourself. I mean, they produce amazing top quality content. And yeah, I thought this would be a great opportunity to, discuss the stories with you guys, as well as giving my thoughts and opinions too. So I hope you guys enjoy. But before I get into anything, I want to quickly say thank you to everyone. Massive respects and big shouts to all you guys for showing so much support, so much love. And without rambling on any further, let's start with the first story. And I'm going to structure this in two parts. This was a very long podcast episode. And to start with, I want to discuss what Matt Law had to say about Erling Haaland. Now, let's break down what Matt Law had to say about these Erling Haaland reports. Now, straight off the bat, Matt Law mentioned that any club hoping they can sign Haaland for up to 100 million are basically out of their minds. He said the reality is Dortmund, they're hoping to earn more money from his sale than the money they earn selling Ousmane Dembele to Barcelona. So this gives us indication that his transfer value could be around 150 million. And on top of that, you guys, you then have the wages you have to pay, as well as the agent fees, which could bring the entire deal closer to 200 million. That is a crazy amount of money. And straight off the bat, I'm going to ask you guys, do you feel like this is the best use of money? This is the best investment? We should go all out to sign Haaland at whatever cost? And would you even sign him for up to 200 million? Comment below, you guys. But to continue on, a lot of what Matt said was based on reports that came up from Haaland's agent himself, in Mino Raiola. Now, Raiola came out to state that there's only 10 clubs that have the financial capacity to sign a player of Haaland themselves, who has the potential to be seen as the next class of legendary world-class players. Him, Mbappe, and so many more are following in the footsteps left by Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar too. So it's no surprise with Raiola, he's going to push his client, and he's going to push his client very heavy. Reality is, though, can every one of these 10 clubs afford to sign Haaland? Probably not. I'm sure most would be more excited to sign him when his release clause is set at 75 million euros. However, clubs that have the money and might not necessarily be high up in the pecking order, this is a great opportunity to come in and make something happen. As Matt stated, as he was breaking down some of the clubs that are showing interest but might not be able to sign them, he mentioned Liverpool and he mentioned Man City. Now with Liverpool, they don't tend to have the finances at this point in time. And with Man City, even though on paper they could afford a deal of this nature, the reality is they're a club that's also afraid of financial fair play. Of course, they've been affected heavily beforehand. We know what happened to them in the UCL, you guys. And again, they can't afford to take any more risks like that. As Matt states, he feels like there's only three clubs that have it in them to pull off this deal. And if I had to guess, those three clubs would be Man United and possibly Real Madrid as well. But with Real Madrid, I'd assume they'd have to sell players to, increase the budget to sign players in the first place. And maybe that's the only way they could get a deal done to sign Erling Haaland. Now, Matt Law was just spinning the tea more and more and more. And next on the discussion was Roman Abramovich. Now, as Matt said, he feels that Roman has the same energy, the same conviction in which he had last summer when it came to the signing of Kai Havertz. Now, this is great news. This is the news that you want to hear. We know that Roman wanted Kai Havertz at any possibility. He wanted him full stop and was willing to spend whatever money he had to get this deal done. So, if you're after players of this nature, you need to have the conviction. You need to show that you're ready, you're financially ready you have the ambition to pull through and get something like this done. And considering that other reports have been coming out suggesting that Tuchel has been informed of the club's interest to pursue Haaland heavily in this next window, and reports suggesting that Tuchel's given the green light and the club have been given the green light by Roman himself to get this deal done. It does feel like, you guys, we have another transfer saga already. For this summertime, it's going to be such a crazy period. I'm sure that Dortmund will do their best to try and persuade him to remain at the club. However, if they miss out on UCL football, that does financially impact them. And of course, at the same time, Haaland, his agent, his reps and his team, they have a clear career plan when it comes to what Haaland should do next. Now, of course, Salzburg to Dortmund was on the cards, and it seems like Haaland does prefer a move to Real Madrid. At the same time, we know that Kai Havertz also looked at Real Madrid too, and in the end, look where he is right now, you guys. Haaland and his team had fears that if they went to the Premier League straight away, Haaland could potentially face some burnout later on as his career comes to an end. Of course, they mentioned players like your Torreses, players like your Rooney's, etc., who had explosive starts, but near the end, their bodies couldn't maintain that. And, with how Haaland plays, he relies a lot on his physicality, his running and his pacing behind, and if he missed out on that, you are getting a bit of a different player. So it'll be interesting to see what we're going to do. And on top of that, the bit ended on Haaland, suggesting that if Haaland wasn't even signed, of course, there are going to be alternatives, and I'm wondering what those alternatives could be. Could this be potentially Lukaku finally coming to Stamford Bridge? Who knows? And at the same time, what of Tammy Abraham? Matt states that himself, he doesn't understand why Tammy doesn't get enough love. That's something that I really agree with myself. I feel like, I don't know why Tammy is, quick to get dismissed all the time, especially considering he's our top goal scorer last season and this season too. And he stated that, just because Haaland was signed doesn't mean that the club will be looking to get rid of Tammy immediately. And who said anything about Tammy not being willing to remain and fight for his place like he's already done this season? So this was definitely interesting. It does feel like Erling Haaland could potentially be our player next season. I feel we got the money, we got the ambition. I feel we are going to be in a top 4 spot as well, you guys. So comment below, do you want to see Haaland as the main signing for this summer? Let us know below. Now to end things, you guys, we got some interesting news in regards to the futures of certain players at the club. Now, I'm going to discuss Marc Guéhi, Kante, ZOUMA and Loftus-Cheek, starting with Marc Guéhi. And I do want to stress that as Matt was just talking in the interview, in the podcast, he was giving his personal opinions. Of course, we have to take them serious because of his connections to the club, but at the same time, these are his personal opinions. In football, with this news, things really do change. Things become different every single time. So, let's remain patient and see what happens in the future. Let's not take this exactly for words at this point in time. But without me rambling on anymore, in regards to Marc Guéhi, Matt Law believes that now that Lampard's not here, there might not be a spot for him next season. And there's 2 options that Matt sees. He either gets a Premier League loan move, or Marc Guéhi gets sold with the option to buy at the end. Similar to Nathan Ake. So that is one possibility. Moving on now to Loftus-Cheek, and this is where things got a little bit interesting because, Matt alluded to the club's plan that they had for Ruben. Matt mentioned too that maybe Ruben might not be here for next season. This follows along Kurt Zouma as well, with Matt suggesting that if we do sign a centre-back this summer, considering the centre-back options we have already, one has to get sacrificed, and if Kurt Zouma is sold, the club want 40 million for his sale. And then N'Golo Kante was mentioned as well. Now, this is kind of an old story. Of course, we've known since Lampard was sacked that Kante has been unhappy, not per se with Lampard sacking, but with him feeling like maybe it's time for him to try something new in his career. Now that there's a younger generation that he doesn't fully connect to on that level, of course, he's like 10 years older than most of these guys. He's feeling like maybe this is a great opportunity to test himself elsewhere and see what happens with his career. So again, we don't know for sure if this is guaranteed to happen, but to give my thoughts and opinions, you guys, a part of me is feeling this. If we're planning on spending big money to sign players that are going to get us ready to win the league next season and start competing for trophies and silverware, then I guess to afford signings of this nature, you might have to sacrifice certain players in your squads who have that high transfer value. in the case of Kurt ZOUMA. Again, he might feel a bit aggrieved that I feel like every time he's played for us, he's been probably our most consistent defender compared to any one of the defenders bar Thiago Silva, which I think is fair to say. Again, top goal scorer, we've missed out from his set piece prowess as well, and you know, talks of the mistakes he makes are so exaggerated, especially if you want to keep the energy similar and keep the energy fair. If you compare it to the mistakes that other defenders have made, ZOUMA isn't on that same stratosphere. So again, let's see what's going to happen with him. Of course, a player like ZOUMA has big interest everywhere, and I mean, who knows? Who knows? Let's see if he's able to force himself back into the team as time does go on. Moving on to Marc Guéhi, I feel like, personally, I'm at this stage where I'm looking at the centre-back market compared to strikers and midfielders, and there's not many great options available at this point in time. Many of them are quite young. You know, we were strongly looking at Upamecano, and considering that Marc Guéhi is a year younger, playing and dominating in the Championship, which is on a different level to what it's ever been over the past 5-10 years, you know, he's showing that, okay, he has the potential to do something. And I thought it would only be fair for him to get an opportunity, in my personal opinion. But if that isn't the case, I feel like selling him with the option to buy is too risky. I'd imagine the safe option would be to get a Premier League loan move, but at the same time, you know, if we're going to keep turning towards the market more than looking to within, who knows what his long-term future may be. And I don't know, I feel like after we saw the benefits of introducing players like Mount, Tammy, Reece and Tomori straight from the Championship to the team, and I mean, look what they've done for us, I do feel like, you know, how many more tests do our players have to pass every single time to show that they're ready? I'm hoping we're not going to go back to the old stuff we used to do, you guys. Moving on to Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It's the same energy for Kurt ZOUMA. You guys know that he's one of my favourite players, and if he was sold on, it would just sum up the harsh reality of football at this level. Of course, we know that is complete BS how he picked up his injury. People mention him getting injured non-stop. I think it's a bit unfair in the sense that that was a back issue he had before, which he's now got over. And the injury that he sustained in a friendly that should never have been in the first place, let's get that right, had nothing to do with his back. And since then, due to how serious the injury was, playing on a very unsafe field, he paid the price and it stalled his career again. I don't know. I feel like on a real one, that would kind of disappoint me. I think with the contract we've given him, the long-term deal he's got as well, you've got to stand by him and, you know, have some patience at times. You know what I mean? I feel like Ruben's deserved that. As long as he maintains his fitness throughout the season, which for me is the big pro I'm looking for. If he comes back next season, plays with better players in a squad like this, of course, he'll look even better, because that's what tends to happen. You know, you play with better players, of course, you can do better things. And, you know, to end things with N'Golo Kante, it would be a shame if we lost out on him. If we're planning on actually challenging to win things, which for me, I think is too soon, considering that our attack hasn't even gelled. Considering all the attacking players we signed, they haven't had the time to gel and find that rhythm and patterns of play together. Even if we were to sign Haaland and big guys for next season, is that going to guarantee us winning the league? I'm not too sure, in my opinion. And I feel like if this is the energy for next season, you have a better chance at winning the league with someone like N'Golo Kante in your team. Yes, he hasn't played as much under Tuchel. Let's see what happens on those lines, you guys. But right now, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Thank you for watching. Remember, you guys, get involved. Make sure you comment below. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lines TV. I'll catch you guys tomorrow with a match preview for the Man United game. Cool.